The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
Perfect timing as well. So professional as always.
Hey, yo. How we doing, Magsy?
Well, I was just telling you not a minute ago that I'm feeling rough as rats today, so not too good. But I wasn't missing another episode of Chain Wrestling.
Fantastic stuff, mate. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, we've got quite a bit to talk about, haven't we? Got some funny stories from the CWF with their local news. Yeah, that's going to be quite interesting.
It was an inspired topic by yourself.
Well, thank you very much. It was inspired. I'll tell you that. It was definitely inspired. But we'll get to what it was inspired by very, very soon. Is my light working okay? It looks like half my face is shiny. The other half's like just not lit up.
It's you're a little bit darker than normal, but that's always a good thing.
Oh, cheers, mate. Thank you. So see if I can. Is that better? That's a bit better, isn't it? There we go.
A little bit better.
Yeah.
Too bright now, to be fair.
Shall I just turn it off? Shall I just try to turn my camera off?
Yeah, just turn off the whole camera. That'd be better.
Yeah. Do you just want to go solo tonight? I'll just get in the chat.
Whoa, too far, Tony.
Yes, indeed. We have a huge Chain Wrestling Live for you again this Monday evening. We have a new feature based on an old feature, but it's more positive. And it's what I'm quite looking forward to getting into. It's going to be good fun. Yeah, we have the returning Mr. Mags tells you about how much of a Billy Bullshitter Hulk Hogan is. We have a fantastic non-wrestling topic, a pretty good wrestling match as well. Plenty Yeah, okay. I mean, what else are you going to do on a Monday night? Watch fucking Coronation Street? Give your head a wobble.
I mean, that's finished by now, so you could have potentially watched
it. Actually, it's not. It's on until 9 o'clock tonight.
Oh wow, special. Well, come back in about half an hour. If you're a Corrie fan, just come back in.
It's ITV.
Watch it. Yeah, watch it on RTV Hub.
Yeah, there you go. Watch it on Catch. ITV are just pulling out the big guns because they got to compete with us. Look.
Exactly. Same with Sky and Monday Night Football.
Yeah. Is there a game tonight?
I don't know.
No, it's fucking international break, isn't it?
Oh, everyone's favourite. Meaningless internationals.
For God's sake. Gonna watch a gang of, hopeless morons run around a pitch for, 90 minutes. And obviously Moldova will be playing against England. So
well, I didn't realise Gloucester were on TV.
You're a prick. You are an absolute melt. You really are.
As if I could talk with Burnley putting up such great efforts against every team they come up against.
We were talking, actually, I was talking to Ben from the former RSH podcast and who helps out with his wife on the Axe Playlist podcast by Messenger yesterday, just about sport in general. And I told him about a record Gloucester City actually have. An established, long-term, huge record, mate, that I don't think is ever going to get beaten.
Is it like a double LP?
No. We are the oldest football club in this country to have never played in the Football League.
Let's put that on the mantelpiece.
138 or 139 years.
You shit bastards.
And on that note, good morning. Don't interrupt my intro, please. I work hard on this. I put at least 15 seconds of effort into this shit. Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you'll be watching or listening from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, an SJP World Media production, episode 137. I am Si, and with me as always is the game to my lame, the Cactus Jack to my sweaty bum crack, a podcaster who to your face.
Just the thought of your sweaty bum crack sent a shiver down my spine.
A podcaster who has no idea how close I got to choosing a match from 1977 for my link in the poll this week. But I went against that in the end because regardless of how good I think it is, nobody votes for good wrestling on this show. Everyone just wants to see blood and chairs. The Podfather himself, Lord Mags. How are we doing, sir?
Yeah, considering I am still rough as arseholes and I cannot shake this COVID-related illness, yeah, I'm not doing too bad. We're getting battered by Storm Debbie as of right now. I think winds have been 75 miles an hour around these parts. So, yeah, it's pretty grim, but yeah, doing okay.
So I don't know if that's going to come down this way, is it? And affect us as well.
I don't think so. I think you're going to get the next, or the sub. I mean, you're Midlands, really, aren't you? But the southern part,
No,
I think you're going to get. It technically is Midlands.
What do you mean we're fucking Midlands? We're not fucking Midlands.
Wales overspill, isn't it? Really.
Oh my fucking god, that's rich coming from you. You know, living in a small town in Blackburn. Jesus,
that is rude. No, but I don't think you'll get this one. It's quite a small one compared to the one that's coming up for the south of the country.
Right, and you live in a valley as well, don't you? So you're just going to fill up.
Well, we live at the top of a.
Oh yes, I remember you saying
a valley. But there is.
But that's not Burnley itself, though. That's not Burnley itself. That's your mansion, isn't it? Overlooking the peasants in Burnley, down below.
Overlooking the tramps of Burnley.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a couple of valleys. There's Ribble Valley, Rosendale Valley near us. So the wind does pick up. It's like a wind trap where we are.
Right. Okay. Well, hopefully it'll pass quickly, mate. Hopefully it'll pass quickly.
It should die down by tomorrow, I think.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's all right, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, when we get to Chicken News, we'll find out that it's not all right. But
oh dear. Okay. Well, before we get there, shall we have a look who has joined us early doors in the chat?
Yes, and considering I said that I'm not feeling the best and Coffee Mags may make a return, King's Pigs Bladders and James have not done me the best of favors. So the first one is the lyrics to Agadoo. So King Pig Bladder says, Agadoo, do, do, push pineapple, shake the tree. Agadoo, do, do, push pineapple, grind coffee. To the left, to the right, jump up and down and to the knees. Come on, dance every night, sing a hula melody. Now, that makes sense. And then James goes one better with the lyrics. I assume the lyrics to Scatman by Scatman John. So I'm not attempting this one, but apart from the I'm the scat man. And James then replies saying, yeah, I'm all right, lads. Yep. How are you, sir? King's Pigs Banner saying, hiya, James. Dan Griffin, evening CWF. How are we all doing? How are you, good sir? Connor in the chat. Hello to the two most handsome blokes from Burnley and Gloucester. Jesus.
Oh, coughing his guts up. That you're right, man.
That's what shocked me. The fact that he thinks that we're the most handsome blokes in our respective towns. Dan Griffin says he's excited for this. Two top blokes discussing one of my favourite matches ever. So they must have someone else coming on after us to discuss this match. But we appreciate that, Dan. James says, hey up, Dan and Connor. And Sharon says it's Monday night. You know what that means.
Oh,
and
yes.
Then Dan Griffin still very, very angry at Sharon, saying we demand the release of Big Bob. Whoever's got him, let him out for chain wrestling.
It's Livy. It's not Sharon, it's Livy.
Yeah. Liv is holding him captive. Her words. Dan then backs down, says, never mind, Sharon, I'm not arguing with Liv. That's very, very wise. Dan says, Corey and wrestling go hand in hand now with Les Battersby announced for South Pro show next year. Is that true? Les Battersby is in a wrestling show? What, wrestling or?
I don't know. I think he might actually be involved in a match, but I've not heavily looked into it. He must be
hard up.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But there's loads of stuff online about him being involved. I don't know exactly what the details are for his involvement, but the tweets back and forth from other people that I follow are kind of hinting at he's going to be involved somehow in a match, I think.
Jesus. I mean, good on him. Good on him for getting involved, but he may do a Ric Flair and die in the ring.
Yes. He's probably not as old as Flair, though, is he?
Yeah, but he on the show, it was a bit of an alky, weren't he? So he's done his body some damage.
He's got the red face, the red alky cheeks, hasn't he, like I've got?
Yes. I weren't going to say that, but never mind. Sar just described what it's like watching Man United, a bunch of hopeless efforts running around the pitch for 90 minutes. Connor is being very inflammatory there.
So that's rich, really, coming from an Arsenal fan, because we've had the worst start our club has had for over 60 years, and we're still only, 5 points behind you? Make of that as what you will.
They did also tub Burnley pretty badly. Yeah, so, Scottish Danny in the room. Hello, Scottish Danny. How are you? Dan Griffin, Mags interrupting the intro like Sar interrupts my quality segues on the Doctor Who pod.
It's true. It happens.
And then Dan Griffin says Debbie is doing the entire north of England. So yeah, I watched some random YouTube video, and it was a guy talking about Storm Debbie, and he said he hopes she pisses off back to Dallas very soon.
Brilliant.
And then Dan Griffin says, I doubt Les Battersby will do what she's 70 now. Ric Flair is, as we determined last week, he's 74, and that guy is wrestling again. So Les Battersby can wrestle again, or wrestle for the first time.
Yeah, that's it. A couple of Canadian destroyers, a moonsault. I expect nothing less.
Can you imagine Les Battersby pulling out a Canadian destroyer? A shooting star press.
Would it be called a Corrie destroyer?
Exactly, yeah. And Connor, for the last one for now, says, I use my sore comeback on the volley this week, so I've got no comeback for that one, boss man.
I think he means by side comeback, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Magsy, you hinted at it at the top of the show. What's been going on with them chickens, my friend?
Well, let's get into it.
Chicken News with Mags, only on Chain Wrestling.
So, again, we go to a cut, and Sai is looking like a dragon. But yeah, Storm Debbie. It's very apt that it was named after a woman because she is full of hot air and blowing a gale. But yeah, that cow bag, Storm Debbie, has ripped off the tarpaulin that goes above the run for my chickens. So I've had to buy a new tarpaulin. Okay. And it's also bent the frame. So the lock on the gate isn't, you have to now like force it to lock. So Storm Debbie can fucking do one. But aside from that, the chickens are absolutely fine, laying way more eggs than we can ever get through. I think we've got 50 eggs in the kitchen right now.
Bloody hell.
I gave some eggs to my window cleaner the other day.
Hang on, you've got a window cleaner for the mansion, for the estate.
Well, it deserves the eggs. It deserves the eggs. He has to come around with a power washer to reach the attic. Yeah, that's how bad it's getting. A window cleaner who I get the help to deal with. I actually gave the guy some eggs.
Why? Bloody hell. Well, I'm glad they're okay, though, considering there's a big storm.
They love it. The chickens absolutely love it. Now, if that was you or me and it was cold and wet and rainy outside, you'd stay indoors, wouldn't you? The chickens, oh no, they're out like having mud farts. They're mental, absolutely mental. But
brilliant.
They're happy, so...
Well, that's the main thing. As long as their little beaks are smiling. Do chickens smile? They don't, do they, really?
Well, they don't really have mouths. It's a beak.
That's true. So all their emotions come through their eyes.
And they're also quite dippy. They don't really... They only think about food. Eggs. And that's it. Well, no, they don't even think about the eggs. They just have their little egg song when they're laying, and then they piss off. They don't even come back and check.
Fair enough. Magsy, shall we dive in then, I guess? Unless there's something else you want to do first. I suppose the next thing for us to do is the non-wrestling topic because, no, actually, we've got the new segment, haven't we?
We have.
Are we doing that first?
I've just seen if I've uploaded the video. Yes, I have. Here we go. Actually looks like 5 of my chickens.
It's just so stupid and random. It fits this show perfectly. Yes, as opposed to the Hall of Lame, which has ran now for, gosh, must be well over a year now, isn't it?
Yeah. We have been scraping the barrel of ridiculous things in wrestling recently. So we thought we might look at some of the positive things about wrestling, some of the things of wrestling that make us smile.
Yeah, exactly. With the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame. So we will be, anything applies, Maxie, doesn't it? Match types, wrestlers themselves, gimmicks, angles, segments, interviews, anything in wrestling that makes us happy to be wrestling fans.
Exactly.
And obviously, if people want to put forward nominations for the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame via Twitter or in the chat or whatever for a future episode, by all means, shout them out. Me and Magsy will look them through and probably decide to do our own thing anyway. But the thought's nice. So I mean,
that kind of sounds like give Sa the things that he wants to put in the Hall of Fame, so he doesn't have to look it up himself.
Oh, mate, for this, I've got fucking loads. Yeah, I've got like weeks of content. At least 3 weeks.
3 things that have been brilliant in wrestling.
Okay. So, Magsy, as always, do you want to go first?
Yep. And I thought I'd start the Hall of Fame off with a bang. I'm putting forward arguably the best pay-per-view that WWF has ever produced. Certainly one of the biggest. Certainly one of the biggest outside of North America. I'm putting forward the 1992 SummerSlam. This event was just monumental for wrestling in Britain. The fact that it has arguably the best SummerSlam match and certainly the best intercontinental title match with Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith. The image of 80,000 people in Wembley Stadium, the Road Warriors riding down to the ring on motorbikes. This event was just cool as fuck. So yeah, this week I'm definitely putting forward the 1992 SummerSlam. Yeah,
definitely. There's something about non-Rumble events. I mean, the Rumble's okay as well with it, but there's something about big pay-per-views like Mania or SummerSlam or something like that having a really long walkway that I like. It makes the entrances seem more grand and so on. And like you said about the Legion of Doom on the bikes, the Warrior running down to the ring or the flash bulbs all going off. Lennox fucking Lewis, for crying out loud, walking the Bulldog down and so on.
Yeah.
So many great moments, great visuals, and it's 30 odd years ago now. And it still stands out so strongly, doesn't it? So
yeah, absolutely. It's one of those pay-per-views that as a British WWE fan that you watch this once a year. It's kind of like the law, isn't it? You've got to watch this because it's just so monumental and it still stands out as the biggest event that WWE put on outside of North America. And it's also, I think, the second biggest confirmed attendance with 80,000, and it's rumored to be bigger than the bullshitted WrestleMania 3 attendance, which was meant to be like 90 odd thousand and
93,000 for WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, and apparently it was about 78. So the fact that it technically outdrew the biggest WrestleMania up to that time is just phenomenal. A phenomenal event, and well worth it to be the first entrant.
Oh, without a doubt. And you had me worried as well, Magsy, to be honest, because when you said I would like to put in, first of all, I'd like to induct into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame, first of all, the 1992, I went, no.
Don't say Royal Rumble.
Exactly. Then you said SummerSlam, and I was like, whew, thank God for that. Because my first induction into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame is the first match me and you both gave a 10 out of 10 for on this show. And that was my decision straight from the off. I was going to go down the list, find the first match that we did that for. I didn't think it was this well. I thought it was Shawn versus Flair at WrestleMania was the first match we both gave a 10 to. That's not correct. I gave that a 9.5. You gave that a 10.
You're a twat.
Yeah, I look back now and I think, what was wrong with me? I should have given that a 10.
You should have.
So the first match we both gave 10 out of 10 for is the 1992 Royal Rumble match.
So of all the things, all the cool things that have happened in wrestling, all the awesome things that's happened in wrestling, the first two entrants that we put forward both happened in 1992.
Yeah, and it weren't a great year.
They were literally the only two good things that happened in that year for WWF.
Yeah, pretty much. No, Bret Piper at WrestleMania 8 was good.
Yeah, I suppose, but in
and
terms
you're right
of
when you,
events.
Well, you're right when you say WWF as well, because WCW in 92, there's some really good wrestling.
They were doing really good, yeah, it was amazing.
No, they weren't. They weren't. They
Barry
were terrible.
Windham was the NWA World Champion.
Well, no, he was not in 92. No, actually, was he? No, he wasn't. It was no, I mean, the in-ring product in WCW was pretty decent, but they were doing shite. They couldn't sell tickets for love nor money. But anyway, the 1992 Royal Rumble, still, in my opinion, the greatest Royal Rumble we have. And here comes video footage of the Stalker behind me. For crying out loud. I might just change it now and say my entrant into the Hall of Fame is a tall, fantastic performer from Sweetwater, Texas, the Stalker. No. The 1992 Royal Rumble, Ric Flair's performance alone should have that inducted on any kind of good performance scale that you put forward. Bobby Heenan on commentary, Flair's promo afterwards, the way that this is like just star-studded. 1992, everyone was in this match. Absolutely incredible. And I still think the best Rumble of all time. I think. I mean, 97's great, 2001's great, but this is always in the argument. And you think back that it's also the first Rumble that really meant something as well, with the title being on the line, because it wasn't until the year after that the title shot at Mania was on the line. Before this, it was just a case of let's get Hogan over, So this is a fantastic event, and it's again one of those things that I go back and watch at least once a year.
And an absolute amazing performance by Ric Flair, like you said, and it kind of it led the path for having essentially WrestleMania Iron Men. Flair basically just lasting so long, and now every year we get a person who lasts a long time, and a lot of that is because of the impact Ric Flair had. And it's a damn near perfect Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it is
damn near perfect. So it's a great pick.
Thank you very much. With a tear in my eye, Maxie. So shall we have a quick scan through the chat and see what people think of the first ever induction ceremony to the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame, and then get on with our non-wrestling topic, because I fancy reading a few things that are going to make us giggle.
Well, I don't think the Burnley ones will make you giggle, make you probably recoil in horror, but let's go for it. So Dan says, this is what I love about the show, so slick and professional. Exactly. I mean, you would complain if we were professional. If we were cookie cutter, if we didn't have character, you'd complain. So that's why.
Is he being sarcastic then? What was wrong with that video? I thought that was a fantastic intro.
It was. I mean, every part of this show is fantastic. If I were to rate podcasts, I'd give this podcast a 10 out of 10.
We should put ourselves in the... Why didn't we do that? Why didn't I put you and you put me in the first week?
Because I would not put you in.
You prick.
Dan then says there was a big cock on the screen just then. Well, sorry, I was just trying to adjust my pants whilst the video was on. I'm sorry you caught that. King Pigs Bladders wants in Barry Horowitz. So, fun fact about Barry Horowitz. So, if you have seen the video, the graphic for the YouTube video, King Pigs Bladder provided me with an amazing graphic of Triple H and Cactus Jack, but with the heads removed, so I could replace them with me and Sa. But I was very, very tempted to put the best Barry and the worst Barry on these by putting on the Stalker, Barry Windham, and Barry Horowitz. But I thought better of it. I thought I don't want to upset Sa too much. So yeah, that's a fun point about Barry Horowitz today.
Can we just stop referring to Wyndham as the stalker, please? He did
I
so
mean,
much more in his career.
it's what he's known for.
It's not what he's. All right.
Right. Yes, he may have been in the NWA and WCW, but he was wrestling in front of 12 old biddies. His one shot at the big time. Well, he was a blackjack, and he was the stalker. So his two shots at the big time were incredibly ridiculous. And Stone Cold Steve Austin said it best. Why is he wearing camouflage? We all know it's Barry Windham with a mustache.
Okay, 12 people at the NWA is ridiculous. By the way, this guy wrestled all over the US
in front of OAPs.
Oh,
he ruined that. The NWA events were like the interlude to Bingo Night.
You're a fucking jackass. You really are. The show's only 2 hours long, Maxie. I can't get into this with you. This is going to have to be a bonus episode of some sort, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on. Connor says, I think I speak for the people of the CWF. We will not accept this new segment as a replacement for Hall of Lame. The Hall of Lame is a stable and of chain wrestling and should not be replaced. It's not being replaced. This is just to change it up a little bit, like we did with Mags and Sa, where we realised we didn't know fuck all about wrestling, so we kind of put that on the back burner. Yeah, it's just a bit of variety, change it up every week.
Yes.
And then Connor says, that was a joke. I like new things. Don't take it out. Well, we have, Connor. So you've really upset us. And now I hope Columbus Crew and Arsenal both get relegated. So
the Columbus Crew can't get relegated, can they? Because the Americans can't.
Because it's American. It's American, yeah. Dan Griffin and all three of SARS are Barry Windham. Yeah. I've never known a man like a subpar wrestler as much as Barry Windham. Connor says, was SummerSlam 1992 old Wembley or new Wembley? Very, very, very old Twin Towers old. Wembley. King Pig Brother says,
piss.
And that's only because Syed pissed his pants whilst going to Wembley.
No, I hadn't been there by 92, but when I went there in 95, I went to a couple of England games in the build up to Euro 96, so I imagine that would have been 95, wouldn't it? It just reeked of piss everywhere. It was fucking gross.
Because who goes to the toilets at Wembley? You just lob out the Johnson and go where you stand.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
King Pig Banner says 1992 was his first WWE event he attended and still the best. Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Connor says the 94 Royal Rumble, the 1994 Royal Rumble is the greatest of all of the Rumbles. No debate. 94.
That's the one where Brett and Luger drew.
Oh, man. It's gash. I mean, the ending is interesting, but
the story with Brett is good, but the Rumble itself's not brilliant.
Yeah, that's a bad take there, Connor. James says 1992 was a huge year. WWF was massive in the UK. You couldn't move in the Jolly Giant and Woolworths without tripping over some WWF merch. Yeah, I think it was about that time that I had the wrestling buddies. If you remember, they were like little teddies. There was a Warrior one, a Hogan one, a Savage one, and you'd wrestle them on your bed like absolute children. And King's Pig Bladders confirms that it was the old Wembley, Connor. So that's the chat all caught up with.
Indeed it is. So our non-wrestling topic, Magsy. This is gonna make me laugh. I know it is because we've got such nonsense coming from these people, and I love them for it.
It's brilliant.
NWT time. Oh, no wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Ooh, lovely.
Lovely.
So then. You may remember last week we had a little news report from Gloucestershire Live. And in true Gloucestershire Live fashion, they reported on something that wasn't actually from Gloucestershire. And they reported on a crime spree that was, shocking and terrifying a certain time in Somerset. The Somerset Gimp was arrested and given a 5-year gimping ban, I suppose you might word it. He's not allowed to wear a mask and all this sort of nonsense.
Only at night though.
Yeah, in the days, saying he can crack on. Now, when we were looking for a possible non-wrestling topic for this week's show, the idea of getting local news from all of you wonderful people who listen in the CWF, from the crazy, the weird, especially when people live out in these little villages or whatever, just the obscure and the daft that'll make people laugh who don't come from the areas you're in, kind of was in my head anyway. And then this news report came up on Gloucestershire Live to solidify what I thought we should do. And I sent it to Magsy, and he found it just as funny as me. So we went with this for our non-wrestling topic. And I read to you from, again, Gloucestershire Live, which is covering Somerset for some fucking reason. Headline reads, victims of the Somerset Gimp fear the real one may still be on the prowl. There's reference to 2 ladies in this who were harassed by the Somerset Gimp. So,
Gimped.
I mean,
They were gimped.
They were gimped, yes, and they do, they do interview here. I'm not going to read the whole thing out because it's quite a long article. These ladies will refer to as Sam and Chloe because that's their names. And I'm not going to give you the surnames though, just to be on the safe side. 2 women subjected to a nightmare at the hands of the Somerset Gimp. The Somerset Gimp say they are still haunted by the ordeal, and there could be more like him on the streets. They were driving down a country lane in May near North Somerset after finishing work, and they were confronted by Joshua Hunt, who was the guy who was charged with the crimes last week, in the middle of the road. Sam from Weston, who was driving at the time, said it was like a nightmare. He had a face drawn on his gimp mask in a luminous pen. I don't know if you can make this out very clearly. But
why put the mask on? Then if
well, I think they've got this wrong. I think they've got this wrong. I think this is one of those Halloween masks that when you press the button, the face lights up. Can you see?
We can very slightly. I know which ones you mean though. The
Yeah.
LED style ones.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. Let me just skip through to the bit I wanted to cover mainly. We could all see this was a man in a gimp suit. So their powers of observation is, obviously very strong in Somerset. In the middle of the road with a terrifying smile. Behind us was just a black country lane. So I suppose in a way it's midnight. It's a country lane, and there's this guy that would be quite terrifying. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, of course it would.
But what gets me is Joshua Hunt, 32, was found guilty of public order offences last month, confirmed in court that he was the masked man who had frightened passing drivers in North Somerset on 2 nights in May, but claimed the outfit I wear is not anything to do with the gimp. Of course not, Joshua. Police have said now there could be copycats, and Chloe and Sam say that the picture of the Somerset Gimp is not the gimp that scared them. The picture of the Somerset Gimp has a different body shape, and they believe that the real Somerset Gimp is still out there, which is terrifying for all involved, obviously. So again, just the whole fact, apart from the Gimp, yeah, because he's having a wonderful time. So with that, again, I thought, what other silly local news stories could people give us? And we had quite a response, Mr. Mags, didn't we?
We did. But before we go on to them, in the chat that we had about this Gimp,
Yes.
we tend to go off on tangents and create our own scenarios. And we were talking about there being a gang of Gimps.
A Gimp gang, so to speak.
A Gimp gang, yeah. And you outed one of the CWF alumni as being a potential Gimp, didn't you?
Did I?
Yes, because you did a bit of role playing, almost like a
I didn't do any role play. Hang on, slow down a little bit there.
Okay,
that's probably the wrong term in this context.
You wrote a script with
yes.
assigning names to these potential Gimps. And one of the names that you assigned them was Graham. Poor MGB Graham. No wonder he moved to America to get away from these accusations. I think he may be the OG with that Gimp. He was driven out of the country to to go and gimp his way across the USA.
Like a gimping tour of the states.
Run, but this is for his gimp where he flashes or the big rubber suit.
Yes. I feel, considering we're only 35 minutes into the show, we've overused the word gimp already. I'm a little concerned about that. But we should get on. First of all, we have Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. And Magsy, I'll do my best to read them out in the order they arrived into us. Dan says, and I love this, a big duck who lived on the University of York campus called Long Boy.
This is an amazing story.
Went viral because he's fucking massive. When he died, students and locals raised $5,500 for a statue to be made of him. I love that.
That's amazing. That's an absolutely amazing story. Yeah. R.I.P. Long Boy. I bet he tasted delicious as well.
Why have you always got to go there? Why is that always your go-to with stuff like this?
What my go-to is, I bet someone's ex tastes delicious.
No, like whenever we mention the chickens and everyone gets a bit, oh, those little chickens. And you're like, yeah, so I ate their fucking babies. You know?
I mean, it's not Lars. But yeah, what a cool story, though.
Yeah, it's great. I love that. Yeah. Chris Bellis at Real Chris Bellis on Twitter. He says, well, my beautiful Hull is the city that made the news in the early 2000s, where a bloke was filmed by British Rail CCTV shagging a goat.
I mean, that is also Yorkshire, much like York. So it just shows the two ends of the spectrum for Yorkshire. One, absolutely adoring nature and building a statue for a duck that sadly passed away, and another just a few miles up the road where a bloke shagged a goat. Just it's just the dichotomy of Yorkshire, the wrong uns.
Yeah, I mean, you want to speak about a certain area having a stereotype or being a certain way. I think what we received from the Photoshop wizard himself, King Pigsbatters, kind of explains a little bit about his local area of Nottingham and what seems to be the go-to with people who live there. And it seems to be not wearing many clothes, Mags.
Oh, they love getting the old meat and two veg out.
Yes, we will begin here with the first one Pigsbatter sent us from the South Coast Today page, and it reads, Nottingham, England. A pair of naked men started fires in an apartment as part of a pagan ritual to drive away negative vibes.
Brilliant.
The article itself goes into detail about how somebody tried to break in to the apartment to rescue one of the naked guys, not realizing there was another naked guy in there, which took him by surprise, and they were burning all their clothes.
Yeah. And without one of the guys, his name is Aftab Mughal, who was burning all his clothes because he had negative vibes in his house. Again, Nottingham, full of wrong uns.
Yeah, we got a few more as well. A few more. This one is from Nottinghamshire Live, and they say, let me see what one we've got first. Residents, I mean, so the locals are sticking up for these people now. Residents say men spotted naked have been doing it for years and should be allowed to just get on with it.
Just
I don't understand how that's a news
crack
story.
on,
yeah,
with your tackle out whilst you nip to Tesco and pick up your bread and your milk. Yeah, if they're not doing, I mean, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird. There's no real justifying just rocking around bollock naked. But apparently the police said the men are not breaking the law by walking around in the birthday suit. So
they must be. That's like indecent exposure or whatever, isn't it?
Maybe they've got a fig leaf.
Right. And that's all right.
Not in their hand. I mean, just covering.
Yeah. No. I get what you meant. Yeah, not like walking around with a bit of shrubbery in their hand or something. I get that. You know, but I still don't think you can walk around town like that, can you?
But if you've been doing it for years, apparently he should be just allowed to get on with it.
Wow. Well, there we go. The third we have from Nottingham, this time from West Bridgeford Wire. Arrest after man seen fully naked in the street in Nottingham. It's definitely a theme, isn't it?
That seems very hypocritical by the police in Nottingham then, because just the last story they said they're not breaking any laws and they should just be allowed to get on with it. So this guy is following his fellow town members in getting the old nutsack out, and he's getting into trouble for it. That's not fair. I don't believe. I think it should be one rule for everybody.
Pig Spiders in the chat there says they're actually naturists walking their dog around a park. Yeah,
he knows because he is one of them.
That's it. He was the dog.
That's it's the only reason Pig's Banners owns a dog, so he can walk around the local park with his arse out.
Yeah, there we go. Connor at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. He says, not many positive stories from my hometown, Columbus, but here's one from Kings Island Amusement Park in Cincinnati. Where did I get to?
A picture up.
Yeah, where did I get to?
He says at the bottom, forgot you can't see headlines in Twitter anymore because Elon Musk is an absolute bellend. So here's the article headline: Kings Island showcasing more than 7 million holiday lights versus during Winterfest. And that, I mean, you have access denied apparently. I can't even look it up. So that's fun.
That looks good though. That looks good though.
You can't even like. I can't blow it up, so I can't enlarge it. But it does look absolutely amazing.
It does look the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Connor continues. Marvin Harrison Jr. becomes first Ohio State wide receiver with 2 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Those are just words to me. I don't understand.
Words and numbers.
Yes.
But that sounds like an achievement. Sounds like he's 135 years old but never played football in the football league.
You're such a snidey little bitch when you're poorly, aren't you?
and also when I'm not poorly.
Well, yeah, fair point. We did have another one from Connor, but it came very late on, so I screenshotted that to read a bit later. Because next up came our good friend Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. Danny, I hope you're doing well. Reach out when you get the chance, mate. Hope everything settles down for you soon, and we can get Nitro Nights back on the road, pal, because I really miss doing that show. Danny says, my area is the home of UK Cannibal. Fuck's sake. Just that first line is just... Coming
from Danny, the local stabber.
My area is the home of UK Cannibal Peter Bryan. He actually lives about 25 minutes away in a low-security hospital.
That
One day
sounds very worrying.
It does. One day he will walk the streets again looking for flesh, Danny says. And we've got a picture here as well. Cannibal killer let out by bunglers is the headline. Brilliant. Oh, my word.
British justice at its finest.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. We do have next up the one from Connor, actually. It says here, Columbus Crew win in a wild game in Columbus 4-2 versus Atlanta United to advance to the Eastern Conference semi-finals. Okay. Fair play.
Columbus Crew.
Oh, he loves his soccer. I don't think I've got many more actually saved on my phone, Magsy, because I had a few issues this week. Have I missed any out?
Yep. So UTT Rob, he said Royston visited the town that is in, I think it's the League of Gentlemen.
That's right.
He's actually based on West Breton in Wakefield, and Wakefield is a local city for local people and rhubarb. Yeah, fucking rhubarb.
Yeah, rhubarb. Love a bit of rhubarb, mate. Oh, hello. Who's this coming in now? Come on in.
Is this a brew?
No, it's not Big a brew, Bob. Actually. It's Big Bob.
Yeah,
escorted back to where he belongs. There we go. Yeah. Thank you, Liv. You
Never steal him again. No. And you put up a gif of Papa Lazarou, who is one of the best comedy characters.
Oh, Dave.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to buy any pegs? She's my wife now.
Is there any others there, Magsy, or shall we dive into any details that we've got of stuff?
Rob says, after the talons of Wen Chiang comment on the Doctor Who pod, you are giving Fitch a run for his money today.
I got no idea what I said. I can't remember. That was
you did
recorded
say-
over a week ago.
You did say, I changed my mind. I changed my mind.
Yeah, because he says I'm challenging Fitch, and there's the Talons of Wang Chang is very famously quite a racist Doctor Who story. It's from the 70s. There's a white actor who is playing an Asian character with tape securing his eyes in certain positions. So, yeah.
And then also you put a gif up of a guy essentially blacking up. I mean, I don't think the character is meant to be a black character typically, but
No. I didn't think it through, mate. That was not my intent. Intent. So there we go. We're getting cancelled. Wouldn't it be ironic if that was what we got cancelled for? A genuine error, rather than some of the things I have said purposely on this show.
The League of Gentlemen has cancelled many a person, to be fair.
Well, yes, indeed. You mentioned about some stories from Burnley, Magsy. What have you got?
Yeah, I mean, there were some quite funny stories that are really entertaining. I love the fact that Nottingham is full of flashes. Burnley, it's not so good. So today, this very day, a school in Burnley was evacuated, and the bomb squad were involved because of a suspicious package. That's fun, isn't it? Obviously, there was a gang sentenced to prison. I think it was Friday. They got almost 100 years between them, and they were an organised crime gang that went around taxing cannabis growers. So basically, robbing people who've grown cannabis of their hard-earned money and drugs. And yeah, they got 100 years between them. What else has there been? Oh, about 13 councillors from Burnley have all resigned because of the Labour leader Keir Starmer's take on whether Israel and Gaza should have a ceasefire. So that's fun. Yeah, no particularly funny stories happen in Burnley. It's usually pretty grim.
Oh man, speaking of grim, Dan Griffin has just sent me another one to read out.
Oh.
It involves nakedness again. Amazing.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
And this is from the Yorkshire Press, I think it is. A couple of years back is the date on the story, but anyway, the headline reads: Police hunt fat naked man who masturbated in front of a student in York.
Oh, I didn't realise I'd been caught. Sorry.
Should have took your fig leaf. You'd have been fine.
I mean, man has needs.
Well, this is it. The incident occurred at 1:15 on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
because you don't want to go late night with your naked wanking, do you?
No,
you know,
you need sunlight. You can't go out night wanking. That's
come
ridiculous.
Sunday night, especially when
come Sunday night. Yeah,
oh,
my
dear
philosophy.
Me. Especially when the evenings are drawing in like this. You want to be a little bit more clothing on you, sat watching the Antiques Roadshow, just chilling out, don't you? Yeah, you want to get your wanking done.
You want to get your fire off your knuckle children before like Sunday afternoon football. Get it out at way.
Inquiries are ongoing to locate the man, including a trawl of CCTV covering the area. I imagine he's going to be pretty easy to spot on the CCTV. He'll be the one in the buff. So,
with his cock out.
With his knob out, yeah. He's described as white, with a very pale complexion, between 35 and 45 years, around 5'10", with a fat... Jesus Christ, he's describing me. Around 5'10", with a fat build. I'm taller than 5'10".
He definitely lives in Gloucester, I believe. I've heard that he lives in Gloucester. He's also got a big beard, and he's likes cheese.
Hang on, this gets even better. This is part of the genuine police description. Okay, are you ready? He is around 5'10", with fat build. He has very little chest or pubic hair, no obvious tattoos, no obvious tattoos or scars, and he has what was described as A small penis with testicles that hang noticeably low.
Well, that's me out.
Your small penis is fine, but your testicles are quite high.
They're in his. My testicles have gone right back in.
It is. Oh, dear me. I have something here again from Gloucestershire Live, just to round out what we were talking about. And amazingly, Magsy, it involves nudity again. What is going on in the UK?
In this weather, it's bloody freezing. No wonder he had a small penis.
Yeah, there you go. This reads, and if this person had a similar issue with the size of their manhood, you couldn't blame the temperature because they were indoors. Because the headline on Gloucestershire Live reads, and it's possibly one of the greatest headlines of all time: nudist asked to leave Wetherspoon after bending over for a poppadom. Max, he's dying. You okay there, mate?
Jesus, wet.
I'll read a little bit to you. A nudist has slammed Wetherspoons for trying to bar him out of his local for accidentally exposing his bum in front of a young customer when he bent over for a poppadom. Richard Collins says he usually goes around naked, but had donned a sweatshirt, a hoodie, and a short suede skirt, because obviously why wouldn't you? And no underwear on when he went for his dinner at his local Wetherspoons. So he's wearing a sweatshirt and a hoodie. That seems excessive amount of clothing on this top half.
One at the top and three at the bottom.
Yeah, and a small skirt, a short suede skirt with no underwear.
And what was it? What was his name?
Richard Collins.
For a pop, and he bent over for a poppadom.
Well, I'm getting to this. After order, because apparently, according to Mr. Collins, the incident was not his fault. After ordering a chicken tikka curry at the bar, the 67-year-old says he noticed a poppadom on his seat. Bending over to flick the poppadom off his seat, the 67-year-old claimed he did not know a mother and her teenage daughter were sitting behind him.
Bending over to flick the... Was he like 7 foot tall, or was the seat like a child's seat?
I don't know. They don't go into that many details, Max, surprisingly.
Bending over enough to show your chocolate starfish to the people sat next to you to flick a poppadom.
It's not.
First of all, why is he wearing a skirt with no underwear? That's ridiculous. Why is he poppadom on the seat? Why is he bending over to flick that poppadom? Not even pick the poppadom up or get one of the staff to come and clean it up. Flicking it. So he was going to flick it, I'm assuming, on the floor.
I guess so, mate.
And then he's still got his cock and balls out. That's ridiculous.
He says here, Richard, who says he has been visiting this bar for up to 4 times a week in the last 10 years.
He also said he usually rocks around naked, so he must have been in that pub in the buff before.
All right. Richard says he blames the mother and daughter for looking up his skirt.
Wow, that is victim blaming at
their my word.
You should not have looked at a bloke's arse, cock and balls dangling in front of your face when he was just bending over to flick a poppadom off the seat. A normal, everyday occurrence. Ridiculous.
You should be able to flick a poppadom without people eyeballing you.
Yeah, especially when you're wearing a suede skirt and your cock and balls are out.
Yeah, exactly. He says here they shouldn't have looked up his skirt. They should avert their eyes if they don't like the sight, because obviously it's their fault, isn't it?
How would they know to avert their eyes if they didn't see something worth averting?
There we go.
And surely he should have had the presence to realise people were behind him when he was bending over. So maybe bend at the knees or turn to the other side. But no, flash the old chocolate starfish at him. That's the best way.
Richard, the founder of Naturists UK, has been a nudist for 40 years and said it was ridiculous that the manager asked him to leave for bending over with no underwear on, despite Richard claiming he was properly covered. He blamed the mum and daughter, claiming that if you and your child look up someone's skirt, then you don't...
I hope he sued him. For damages.
Yeah. Richard claims, if you or your child look up someone's skirt, then don't complain if you don't like what you see. Please avert your eyes. The
I
instant
rest my
spurred...
case, Your Honour.
Yeah, there you go. The incident has spurred Richard to campaign for naturist rights and to be formally recognised in legislation so that he and fellow nudists can walk into any pub naked and get served.
No.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean, I am not a prude. If naturist is your thing, live wild and free, but not in public, man. I mean, walk into that pub naked. How many kids would he have walked past? That's the issue. I mean, it's all fun and games, but you are still showing your genitalia is still on show to impressionable.
Absolute wrong.
So,
what a fucking wrong.
Yeah.
One last point from Richard trying to defend himself here. He says, my skirt was not that short.
It's short enough that he bent down and his arsehole was on shore. That's quite short. The times I've worn a skirt and bent down, usually my arse is still covered.
Yeah, exactly. You got to think about these things, don't you?
Exactly.
It's only the fact I bent over. I'm not sure how far I bent over. I thought about picking the seat up and tipping the poppadom off, but it was easier to bend over and flick it away.
Again, how fucking small was this seat then? Was this Giant Gonzalez?
Yeah, Giant Gonzalez, who's dead, is showing his arse in a little skirt in a Weatherspoons.
That's a mental story.
It is. Absolutely blows my mind, mate. Blows my mind. But there we go. Thank you so much to everybody in the CWF on Twitter and in the chat here for messaging in their stories, and Dan Griffin sending me an additional one as well via WhatsApp whilst the show is on, which is always an option if people want to chuck stuff in the chat for us or message or tweet the show direct. Whilst we are live, I will try and pick it up as best I can. Magsy, should we dive through the chat and see what people say about, well, nudists, I suppose?
It's pretty much all nudist and gimping. So we start with Dan Griffin saying that he got the world's first AGBO, so Agbo, anti-gimping behaviour order. Yeah, but he's defied it already. Him and his gimp gang are on the loose.
Yeah.
Connor says
it's him, do we?
He's part of an underground sect of gimpers. I mean, all gimps must know each other. It's not exactly a massive community, is it?
You think, yeah?
Or is it? I mean,
it's not. No,
I don't know. You're being very suspicious. I think you doth protest too much. So, are you a member of the National Gimping Society?
Well, I didn't know what it was called until you just said it.
Connor says, "Is Scottish Danny the gimp?" Well, I mean, who knows behind closed doors? Yeah. Dan Griffin says, "Does MGB stand for Master Gimp Beta?" Paul Graham got saddled with that just from you creating your scenarios. Dan then says, "Resting in power, long boy. You were a fucking massive duck." Exactly.
That's brilliant.
It is. And he also says the guy who shagged the goat was the Lancashire ambassador. It would not surprise me. It's not often we get goat in Lancashire, so you've got to do what you can when the opportunity arises.
Very excited, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Meh. King's Pigs Banner says they were naturists walking their dog around the park, and then he confirms he was the dog. Woof. Dan welcomes back Biggest Bobbert. Cheers, Liv.
Yeah, he's not in his usual seat though. He's behind me, so I got to sort of do this for you to see Big Bob. Let's see.
Oh, just put him on your lap.
Oh, mate, I'm wired up to everything, aren't I?
It's okay. Just move to the side. Duck under. Okay. Duck down.
Duck down.
Yeah. That's the best view of the Powell household I've ever seen. Big Bob's ransom money has been paid and he was returned safely, says Connor. I bet he's not there next week. I bet you Liv takes him back after the show.
Maybe.
And yeah. Connor then says, never had a bomb threat whilst in school, but had a shooting threat my freshman and senior year school. Oh, because that's just better, isn't it? Being threatened to be shot over threatening to be bombed. Went on just heavy police presence around in and around the school. American schools baffle me with the fact that you need. Is Bob being stolen again?
No, that's Sharon coming to move Bob to his normal seat. She's watching downstairs and is obviously getting frustrated that Bob's not in his usual location. So there we go.
Yeah, because she's got something nice to look at when Bob's there.
You prick.
That's rude. You've called me that about 45 times this episode already. King Pig Banner says the only other Nottingham story is that the city council is about to go bankrupt. Yeah, I read today that 30% of English councils are either going bankrupt or on the verge of bankruptcy.
So, with regards to that, then, Mags, again, excuse my lack of knowledge and so on here. If a council goes bust, what the fuck happens?
Basically, all the public services get cut. So things like school buses, any kind of like charity work that they do, it all goes away. You'll get essentially the very minimum of public services.
It does kind of sound like living in Gloucester anyway, then.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Birmingham went bankrupt or declared bankruptcy not that long ago.
Yes, I remember that.
It's Tory cuts. As simple as that. Trying to stretch the budgets so thin that public services get ruined. Hopefully they'll be out soon. Anyway, not to get political. Dan Griffin said they had to issue an apology for describing the wanker as fat and small penis. So
amazing.
So the apology said he was of above average build and had a less than average penis, I would assume. Or did they just say he was a hunk and he had a massive wang?
How would you word that as an apology to somebody?
We're sorry for calling that fat bastard who had a wank in the town centre with his macro penis.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. See if you can find it, Dan, so we can find the wording for the apology, because that sounds interesting.
And then King Pigsbladder's outed the potential criminal. It's Fitch. I mean, it would not surprise me. Would not surprise me at all. Dan says, were they offered a poppadom to bend over, or did they bend over as a threat for a poppadom? If I only get one poppadom with my career, I am showing you my shitbox.
Oh, what are we doing? This is a wrestling podcast, believe it or not.
Dan then says, oh, God, he was flicking his own half crust off the seat. I think he's sat on this poppadom and some poppadom shards have tickled his body. So maybe that's why he was flicking it or bending over to flick it off like
some poppadom shards have tickled his body.
Yeah.
That's a collection of words that's a collection of words I never in my whole life thought would ever go together. But yeah, here we are.
And hopefully we'll never have to hear him again. Connor says the nudity stories just get worse and worse. James says, do you remember the story about the bloke threatening to sue Greggs after burning his todger on a statement? I remember that. That was a Daily Sports story, I think.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Dan Griffin then says, same rules looking at old man's arse as an eclipse. Don't look directly into it or else you'll suffer the damage. Wow. But with the eclipse, you'll suffer eye damage. Looking into an old man's arse, you suffer emotional and mental damage, I think.
Yeah.
Connor says, what I want to know is how these people have not been found at the very least.
They got to be found first, Connor. They're masters of disguise, head to toe.
I mean, how do you disguise yourself being bollock naked, showing your arsehole to someone when you're flicking out a poppadom?
Well, this is it. I've had the message from Dan Griffin with regards to the apology. A revised appeal removed detailed description of the man's sexual organs, it says. Officers in York are investigating a disturbing incident in which an overweight naked man performed a sex act on himself. So no mention of size whatsoever.
Of the penis, but they still called him fat.
Well, yeah, I suppose. No, they haven't called him fat. They called him overweight. In the original one, they literally said "fat dude has
Fat
a wank."
wanker, yeah.
Yeah.
They said fat wanker. Matt, the Matt Attack. Hello, sir. How are you? He's just rocking up because he's just got out of the bang bang bathtub. Well, that's a. Did you get the tap in?
I bet that's snug in there, him and Andy.
That's a bathtub that I shall be in tomorrow because I'll be recording one of his Christmas crackers with him tomorrow.
Lovely.
Exactly. We're covering the Survivor Series 2001 match for all of the marbles.
We've done that on We've done that on this show.
We have
8.5 out of 10. We gave it, Magsy, both of us.
And it means I can just use the same notes to go over that, and I might not even have to watch the match again. So win-win.
Well, you potentially just send him a link to this episode and say, edit it how you want, mate.
Yeah, just keep my words in, and you just jump in when Sar's talking.
Exactly.
Yeah. Matt says we don't kink shame here on SJP World Media. I mean, there's levels on Matt. If you go back on the replay, you'll discover we've talked about gimps. We've talked about your fellow podcast host being a potential gimp. We've talked about everybody in Nottingham having their cock and balls out. A guy having a wank in Yorkshire. A dead duck also in Yorkshire. A guy shagging a goat in Yorkshire. Let's not forget that. And then a bloke who had his arse and bollocks out flicking a poppadom off a chair. So,
see, when you list them all, when you list them all back to back like that, it makes me realise how horrific this last hour of audio has actually been.
Yes, and this was your idea. You thought, oh, we'll get some funny, light-hearted stories, and all it was men with their cocks out.
Yeah, the first one about a big fucking massive duck. I thought sound. This is exactly the sort of thing I want.
We started off like really good, and then it went down off a cliff, all because of Chris Bellis and his goat shagger. That's what started the ball rolling. Dan Griffin says the fact that Sar believed that there is a Lancashire ambassador has made my day. I mean, everyone should have a Lancashire ambassador. I mean, shock horror. Matt says, what the hell have I missed? I've literally just explained the first hour and 7 minutes to you. We've talked about ducks, goats, poppadoms, suede skirts. That was that was fun. Wearing a hoodie and a jumper. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, Dan, listen back on the audio version later in the week or something. You'll catch up to what's gone on. We're not kink shaming at all. I mean, each to their own in the privacy of their own home where they don't upset other people, especially on curry night in a Wetherspoons. Trust me, listen back and you'll know what we're on about.
Exactly. Dan Griffin says he spanked a gimp at a wrestling show once. I don't believe that was at a wrestling show, Dan. I think you're just trying to link it because it's a wrestling podcast. I think you just meant you spanked a gimp.
Maybe.
Possibly in Somerset. And then to finish this off, we've got Jesus Christ on multiple backs. Yes, all these people need Jesus. They definitely need Jesus.
They need bloody something. But there we go. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat for giving us your feedback on what we're discussing. Let's move on, shall we?
Yes, finally, let's get to something actually good.
Let's get ready to rumble!
That's right. It's time to discuss our wrestling match, and you can tell on the live video because I've got my trusty notebook and pen out. I don't use the laptop to type or anything like that.
I mean, he doesn't use the fact that he's got a screen in front of him, and he could easily have his notes there up on the screen, but no, he chooses to still be in the Dark Ages with a quill and some parchment.
To be fair, it's only chain wrestling that I actually do that for now. Every other podcast I record, I make my notes on my laptop as I'm watching the TV programs or whatever it is I'm covering.
So why be different for this show?
Because at the moment, this is pretty much the only show I do that involves the WWE network. Everything else, like Doctor Who and Quantum Leap and all that other stuff, they're on other players that I can watch on the television in the bedroom, so I can type on my laptop. Using the WWE network, I've got to watch that on my laptop at the moment, so I make notes on my pen and paper. So there is a logic behind it.
That makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah, see? So fuck off, Mags. Royal Rumble 2000. Magsy won the poll once again that sat for a little while, maybe a couple of hours, at a 50-50. And it's funny how my mind works with the history of this show, because when I looked at it to see how we were getting on, and it was a 50-50 poll, my mind instantly said, fucking Dan Griffin.
It's the whole of the group. They've got a snarty little WhatsApp
secret,
group going on, I think.
Yeah. We are looking at the WWF title match fought under street fight rules, Madison Square Garden, Royal Rumble 2000, between defending champion Triple H and challenger Mick Foley in his Cactus Jack persona. Magsy, how long has it been since you watched this match? And I don't mean only a couple of hours. I watched it today and all your usual bullshit. You know what I mean?
I feel it was pretty recently, and I don't know why. Maybe it was when we covered another match from this pay-per-view.
Yes,
that I've probably watched through this, because it's to not kind of spoil the ending. It's a bloody good match.
Yeah, it is. We did go for a run, didn't we, of this kind of time. We looked at the Rumble match itself from 2000. We then looked at Cactus Jack, Triple H, Hell in the Cell, which was at No Way Out the following month. And then we looked at the main event of WrestleMania 16, which involved Mick Foley, Triple H, The Rock, The Big Show, and all the Royal Rumble escapades from the Big Show saying he won it and all that sort of stuff.
It's WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah, okay.
There is no WrestleMania 16.
For goodness sake. But yes, anyway, we did
It's
go for a little run.
No WrestleMania 16.
Okay, I'm fucking sorry. Well, it is. It's the 16th WrestleMania, so that would make it WrestleMania 16.
It's not labeled as WrestleMania 16. It's labeled as WrestleMania 2000, just like WrestleMania 25 is labeled as WrestleMania 25th anniversary, which technically it's not. It's the 24th anniversary, because
you got that wrong.
And that pisses me off to this day. But
there we go. Never mind. I love the story going into this event of Triple H. It's the McMahon Helmsley regime era. They're in charge. Yeah, and they fired Mick Foley. The Rock, who is super crazy over babyface at this moment. Austin is still missing. Obviously, he's still out with a long-term injury. The Rock is effectively your number one babyface at this point. He gathers the Monday Night Raw roster and says that we're all walking out unless you reinstate Foley. Foley wants a street fight at the Royal Rumble. But then the reveal when he comes down dressed as Mankind after getting the shit kicked out of him by Triple H. And saying,
I think he says along the lines of, it's quite obvious that Mankind is not going to be able to wrestle. He's not in the right condition, but he's found a suitable replacement. And I think you know who he is, and he rips off the mask and tears the shirt, and it's Cactus Jack, and Triple H genuinely looks like he shits his pants.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good.
I remember that happening and loving it, because I was watching Cactus Jack in WCW in the early 90s, so I was familiar with that character and how insane he was and all that sort of stuff. So that was awesome. The entrance music, Magsy. The entrance music by Triple H. My Time, I believe the song's called. Your thoughts on this one in comparison to the various Motorhead tracks that he uses later in his career?
I don't think it's a bad theme song. It certainly doesn't. It's not on the level of his later ones, but it fitted him at this time, because I think we've mentioned on this program and on other podcasts before of how Triple H was never really seen as the guy. He was always kind of in and around that title mix, but was never given like the opportunity to be the big star. It was always like Austin, The Rock, at times Undertaker. So it fitted him, I think, because this was when he kind of came into his own and showed that he was as good as the likes of Stone Cold, as the likes of The Rock, and arguably there isn't a heel as good as Triple H was in this era. He was a vindictive prick.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think the theme music absolutely fitted him, saying that this is my time. So yeah, I actually don't mind it. I do prefer the Motorhead ones, obviously, and Evolution. That's a brilliant one.
That's
but
great.
This one is, I think it's spot on for him.
I also think as well this era of Triple H, because he goes from this run now, the whole of 2000, he's in the main event picture, title picture, and so on. Blows his knee out. Was it sort of mid to late 2001? He misses the whole Invasion storyline, which kicked off kind of the summer of that year, I guess. He misses the whole of that. Comes back in.
I think we've covered his comeback where he gets
in the same building, actually.
Yeah, he gets one of the biggest pops.
Yeah,
of that era. The fans just go mental for the return of Triple H.
Yeah, but when he comes back, obviously he's much bigger in muscle mass. He wrestles in a slightly different style because of his size, and he's lost a yard of pace. Maybe he's not as quick around the ring. He's obviously got the injuries as well. So I think there's an argument to be made that this run of Triple H, his first initial run of being champion, and then being in the main event picture through 2000 and the win at WrestleMania 2000 and all this sort of stuff. There's an argument there that this is probably Triple H at his peak in ring, maybe.
He was definitely on fire in terms of what he was producing, not only just in ring, but his character work was just absolutely spot on. You're absolutely right. This is probably peak Triple H.
Yeah. Okay. The match begins. I love this. It's a simple little thing, Mags, but I love this because this is obviously a big blood feud. These guys hate each other, and there's the huge rivalry there. I hate it when these kind of matches start, even with a stipulation or not, they start with them tying up and going into wrestling moves. These guys hate each other. It should be as it is here. The bell rings. They're not trying to grab each other in a headlock or a wrist lock or anything like that. They're trying to punch each other in the fucking mouth. That's the way it should be when there's a big rivalry at the start of a contest, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But even before we get to the first in-ring action, I think one of the best points of selling by Triple H is the stare down just before they start battling. Triple H is always known for being the cerebral assassin and trying to play mind games, and one of those elements is the way that he stares at his opponent in the ring. But he stares at Cactus Jack, and when Cactus starts talking shit to him, Triple H looks worried, and he starts kind of like losing eye contact with Cactus, and that really shows that he feels like he might have bitten off way more than he can chew here.
Yeah. The use of Stephanie McMahon as well, I think, is really simple, but really clever as well. A match like this, you don't really want Stephanie hanging around on the outside, potentially being a distraction or having to find a role for her to explain why she's not interfering with this or that, the other. So Triple H sending her to the back before the match starts shows how serious this is going to be.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the match, when he's getting he's getting the shit kicked out of him, effectively, her ignoring those instructions and coming back out and showing her concern, again, just heightens how things are going in the match. I think it's a really simple but clever use of her leaving and then coming back.
It shows just how strong their hatred for each other was, and how, like you said, she was so concerned that her husband was getting essentially the shit kicked out of him by Cactus.
Yeah, indeed. As I mentioned, we begin brawling in the ring, and we spill to the outside pretty quickly. Triple H gets his head rammed into the steps and then into the ring bell, and then the ring bell is nailed onto Cactus Jack's head as well, with some funny noises to accompany it. And we can straight away see how we're going to go with this, can't we?
He doesn't sell it for long though, which someone with the craziness of Cactus Jack, that actually I thought made quite a bit of sense. That this is a guy who And the video package beforehand showed it perfectly. He's a guy who's had wrestling matches with barbed wire as the ring ropes. He's had wrestling matches with millions and millions of thumbtacks and explosives. So getting clocked with a ring bell, that would have just angered him, and it technically did. And it also shows Triple H the lengths that Triple H will have to go to get any chance of victory in this match.
Yes, indeed. Triple H gets back in the ring with a chair, and Cactus Jack is effectively almost goaded into coming into the ring with him. And then we get the first of what ends up being pretty horrific chair shots to the head. And it's not anywhere near as bad as it was the previous year at the Rumble, but it's still pretty bad, Maxie, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that in 1999 he took 12 unprotected chair shots, but it gets so brutal in this match that Triple H breaks the chair over Mick's face. He clocks him clean in the face, and CTE was obviously not a thing back then.
No, indeed. We get more fighting on the outside. Cactus Jack is backdrops Triple H into the crowd, and then we fight through the audience, which I always like, as long as it's not overdone. But it always looks chaotic, always looks frantic, and I like the whole everything's out of control aspect of it. Before we fall back into that entranceway that is so iconic for this Royal Rumble, Madison Square Garden,
and this event, and
facing the camera.
Any time that WWF or WWE are in Madison Square Garden, I actually love this kind of camera angle where you can see the entrance. It doesn't work all the time, but I think it works well in Madison Square Gardens where they always have really detailed entrances. I think this one is the one with the taxi hanging down and pallets and piles of bricks and bins that play a part into the match later on. I love this entranceway.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Triple H gets thrown into a pile of these supposed bricks, which looked quite painful, and he sold that quite well. Before that pallet comes into play, and Triple H is sent crashing onto the pallet and gets a chunk of wood just stuck into it, almost like a vampire being staked into his calf. That must have been horrific to work on. Yeah,
and you can see it bleeding from the get-go, and then it's mentioned later on in the match, and when the camera focuses on him, it looks a pretty gruesome mess. It looks like a little chunk has been ripped out of his leg. But he carried on because it clearly wasn't meant to be part of the story. It was just one of those accidents, and he didn't really sell that it was hurt. But Jesus Christ, it must have killed him doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Back into the ring we go, and this is where the baseball bat covered in barbed wire becomes the weapon of choice for a little while.
It's called Barbie, and they call it a bat, but it's Hacksaw Jim Duggan's 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire.
Yes, exactly.
It's weird that they call it a bat because it's not a bat.
But Triple H is the one that ends up using it the most to start off with, isn't he?
It's the old wrestling trope. You introduce a foreign object into the match, you are getting clocked with that foreign object. How many times do you see wrestlers set up tables or throw chairs into the ring and they end up the one going through the table or getting waffled? So it was Mick's own fault. He got exactly what he deserved. He should have watched wrestling beforehand.
Yeah, well, there you go. He should have paid attention, shouldn't he? Should have done his research. Cactus Jack gets low blowed as well, doesn't he, by Triple H? And the bat, Barbie, as you refer to as, is still getting banded around before the ref decides to confiscate this weapon. It's gone too far.
This spot, I thought, was really good because it was kind of a little bit of comedy in what is essentially a very, very serious match.
Yes.
Earl Hebner hands the Barbie off to I think it's Hugo
Savinovich, yeah.
Who attempts to hide it under the Spanish announce table. Cactus goes and grabs Earl and says, "Where's the bat?" And Earl's like, "I'm not telling you. I don't know. I haven't seen it." and then he gets threatened to get laid out, and then he stooges out Hugo straight away. Hugo's like, no, I don't know where it is. You can clearly see it right by his feet. So that lie falls on deaf ears. He gets clocked by Cactus. And then Hugo's partner, Carlos Cabrera, just gives him the Barbie back like, don't hit me, hook him. Here's your Barbie back.
Yeah, exactly. We then get a ref bump as well, don't we?
We do.
And whilst the ref is down, Cactus Jack is the one using the bat, and this starts Triple H bleeding from the face and the head and so on. Cactus Jack's in control for a little while now. He's beating Triple H up, and Triple H does this stumbling around, blood pouring down his chest, all disorientated thing so well. It's so believable to me. It
skirts just on the line of over-egging the pudding to where you would believe it. I mean, Triple H hadn't, up to this point in his career, been involved in many matches that was as brutal as this. So the fact that he's been smashed in the head with barbed wire, and there's a point where Cactus Jack is raking the barbed wire across his face when he's on the apron. So you can understand why he would be reacting in the way he did. He's lost a hell of a lot of blood, and that blood is pouring from his face instantly. So yeah, I think he just skirts the line of it being unbelievable to make the selling look really, really good.
Yeah, it's great work. It's great stuff. We then head towards the announce tables. Cactus Jack is going for a pile driver, but ends up being backdropped. The table doesn't quite break properly, so it looks even more uncomfortable.
It kind of breaks in half, and both guys look like they kind of felt the brunt of that, because Triple H ends up like almost stumbling over Cactus. That didn't look like a very safe spot.
No, you're right. Something I noticed as well here is obviously we're right against the crowd rail, and it is amazing looking at the difference in times and how things change. There's a couple of guys sat at the front row who quickly whip out their portable little cameras and take some snapshots of what's going on.
Film of.
I loved it. We get a pedigree attempt by Triple H, which is then turned and countered into a slingshot by Cactus Jack, and this sends Triple H flying over the top rope. So his belly kind of hits the top turnbuckle and his head hits the post, which opens him up even more. Before Cactus Jack then grabs him and just gives him a bulldog and drives him face first into the barbed wire bat. I loved that exchange. That was really good.
It's one of those spots that you would expect in backyard wrestling or a company like ECW. The fact that WWE have allowed this kind of spot it was brilliant. And it's so out of nowhere because you wouldn't have expected it, but props on Trips for taking that. It literally lands face first into the barbed wire. That's brutal.
Yeah. Triple H hip tosses Cactus Jack here. Then he counters Cactus Jack attacking him with a hip toss onto the steps on the outside, and that looked painful as hell.
His knee bent into the angle of the steps. It just looked absolutely grim, and we all know Mick Cactus is an expert at spots involving the stairs. I mean, earlier in the match we get the running knee where he absolutely he makes it look like he drills that person's head into the steps. He often does the hip thrown into the steps, but that one with the way his knee bent, it made me cringe, knowing the history I've had with my knees and the injuries I've had. Seeing his knee go in directions it really shouldn't go, that was pretty grim.
He then also gets launched into the side of the steps just for good measure, doesn't he? Just as an extra bump as well.
Because why not?
Yeah, why the hell not? And this then disables Foley long enough for Triple H to bring out some handcuffs. So straight away, it's another throwback to what we've seen in previous Mick Foley matches. He brings the steps into the ring as well, Triple H, and handcuffs Foley and basically waffles him a couple of times with the chair. It's better as a viewer now, knowing that what happens with these unprotected chair shots that are horrific to view. This is easier to view than the previous Royal Rumble match because that is difficult viewing.
Yeah,
but it's still not comfy viewing here, is it?
No, it's. I think this is the spot where Triple H waffles in with the chair, and the backrest of the chair comes flying off.
Yes,
that's how hard he gets waffle with it. I mean, you can be the best, most safest wrestler in the world if a steel chair falls apart when it makes contact with your face. That's a painful move. Definitely.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. You see how fast and close to the crowd that bit of chair fell as well.
Yeah.
It
reminded me of the time when Brock Lesnar ripped a car door off and then launched the door into the crowd, and one of the parts of the door genuinely hit a fan, which was, that guy's a monster.
Oh dear. Cactus Jack ends up using a drop toe hold though to send Triple H's face down onto the steps, which I thought was so simple but so clever. And he's wrestling him then with no arms, effectively. Yeah,
I mean he's got the weird handcuffs that have a 3-foot chain between them. I've never understood why those handcuffs are used, but why I do not get why wrestlers cannot learn that holding the stairs head hard to try and attack someone with them never ends well. You are always going to go face first into that. And Triple H goes, he doesn't only go face first into that, the V section of the steps, which kind of gives a little bit of protection. He genuinely goes into that the diamond plate, where people walk up, and it's another brilliant spot taken very, very well by Triple H.
We carry on with a few more chair shots and a few more battles, and Cactus Jack falls out the ring and stumbles towards the entranceway again. Triple H has the chair. He's threatening to clock Cactus Jack. Well, he does hit him, and it's horrific, but he's threatening to do it again.
Yeah.
And then The Rock just comes out of nowhere and waffles Triple H.
Waffles Triple H with a brutal, for all the chair shots that Cactus takes in this match, Triple H's one is easily on par with it because it bends the chair essentially in half, and it just absolutely floors him. The Rock sneaking out, leveling him, and then off he pops again.
Yeah, and
then a cop comes out to release Cactus from the handcuffs, which is that not kind of cheating because the match is still ongoing?
Yeah, I mean, The Rock just hit his opponent with a chair.
Yeah,
so
I get that. So it's tit for tat, I suppose.
Yeah,
but then they both come out to help Cactus. So
that's true. Yeah,
but I suppose. But it gets handcuffs out of the way, so we can essentially get to the end of the match.
Yes. Via the announce table, Cactus Jack manages to land the pile driver on the announce table, which looked pretty brutal, and then brings out the bag of thumbtacks, ready to, I suppose, finish Triple H off with that, but ends up getting slightly distracted when Stephanie McMahon does arrive, turns around, ends up getting backdropped by Triple H onto the tacks himself. So it backs up the point you just said again, Magsy. He's bought the tacks out, and yet he's the one who's gone into them. Clang.
Yeah, exactly. And then he does the typical thing of kind of rolling in them as well.
Yeah, make sure they're stuck in you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, every time Mankind or Cactus involves thumbtacks in a match, he ends up rolling around in them like it's sand. I mean, I think Jerry Lawler in the match calls the bag that he brings in a bag of sand, which it definitely is not. There's literally tens of thousands of thumbtacks in it. But yeah, he's mental, isn't he? He's absolutely mental. He loves piercing his skin with many fine points.
Yeah, silly Cactus. He takes a pedigree, but kicks out at 2 to a massive reaction from the fans because nobody had been kicking out of the pedigree at this point. This is a really
it was very protected.
Yeah, totally. but then takes a second pedigree onto the tax. That's the 3 count. Triple H wins the match. We get a bit of afters, don't we? We get a bit more fighting and so on after the case and so on. But that's kind of the whole gist of our main event from Royal Rumble, Magsy, isn't it?
Yeah, and I love the fact that Cactus, he refuses to get wheeled out on a stretcher, where Triple H, even though he's won the match, definitely does not look like a winner. That guy needed stretching out. And then Mick or Cactus wheels him straight back in and essentially launches him into the apron, throws him back in the ring, and clocks him with Barbie one more time for good measure.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So then, out of 10, what are we thinking, Mags?
I mean, Dan has said it at the beginning of the show. 2 amazing blokes, me and thee, watching one of the best matches a match that he absolutely loves. I absolutely love it. This is a match that I don't think it's aged at all. This feels like it could happen now. This feels like a match that perhaps would happen in AEW.
Yeah,
with the likes of Mox or Darby Allin. There's very little to pick at in what goes wrong in this match. So I'm tempted to fire the big gun. I think I'm going to give this a 10. I love this match. So yeah, I'm going 10.
I agree with you with so much of what you've said. It is absolutely fucking brilliant. And it's 23 years old, nearly 24 years old.
It's mad. It doesn't, it looks fresh. It looks like I said, a match that could happen. Now, you stick this in a GCW event and the crowd will be, this is awesome. Holy shit. This is wrestling.
Jim Ross on commentary as well is fantastic as well. I think he always improves matches like this. It is absolutely sodding brilliant. So good. They do everything right. I'm a smidge lower though, Mags. And I'll tell you why. I remember reviewing the Hell in a Cell match the following month between Mick Foley and Cactus Jack. And I remember always just slightly preferring the Hell in a Cell match to this one. Now, I gave the Hell in a Cell match a 10. So this I'm going to give a 9.5.
I mean,
just because I do slightly prefer the Cell match, but not much in it. This is still an absolutely fantastic watch. So yeah, that's a 9.5 from me, mate.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. The fact is, it's one of the best matches of both guys' careers. Still stands up today as a quality match. Yeah, I'm really glad that won the poll.
And me. Speaking of the poll, then, where would you like to go next week if you win yet a bloody game?
Whoa, that sounds bitter. Sounds very bitter.
I am bitter, mate. I am bitter. My option last week was fucking great wrestling. Don't get me wrong, I loved watching this, but it'd be nice to win once in a while.
Okay, I mean, well, let's see how the CWF and the general public vote. So for this match, I wanted to link in a way that I haven't ever linked before. So usually we'll link by the wrestlers or the event or even the stadium, things like that. But I wanted to think a little bit outside the box. So I did a little Google search of the best wrestling matches that involved handcuffs.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And there was one clear standout, and it's actually very, very recent. So we're fast forwarding to 2020, WWE Clash of Champions 2020, and the curtain jerker for that event was a triple threat ladder match with the WWE Intercontinental title on the line, and it saw Sami Zayn taking on AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy, and the use of the handcuffs is very unique in this match because Sami Zayn handcuffs Jeff Hardy by the ear.
Oh, yes.
Because he's got the stretcher in his ear.
Yeah.
So I thought, let's watch another match involving handcuffs and watch the opener from Clash of Champions 2020 and the Intercontinental triple threat ladder match. Because who doesn't like a ladder match?
No.
Who doesn't like AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and Sami Zayn? And this got a 4.25 star rating from Shagger Dave, so it's a winner.
There we go, mate. There we go. I have not seen that since it aired. I completely forgot it even existed.
Do you know, this actually shocked me because it just shows, this event shows just how long Roman Reigns' run with the title has just been, because his the main event is him facing Jey Uso for the title, and so that bloodline storyline is still going on 3 years on. So anyway, that's my pick.
Great show, absolutely great show. I'd be very, very happy to rewatch that because I don't remember much about it. Just little bits as you were talking. I was like, oh yeah. And I remember it being very good. So that'd be interesting.
I think it's part of the whole conspiracy. Sami Zayn.
Oh yeah.
Era, and there was 2 title belts. He was saying he was there. He was still the champion, but Jeff Hardy was actually the champion. So yeah, it should be a fun match if it wins.
Three very, very talented guys as well. So yeah. Great show. I have to put something up against it though. And initially, Mags, I was just going to be super sulky and bitter about losing this week and in previous occasions as well, when I want to watch some really good proper wrestling rather than stunt shows or gimmick matches or anything like that. And I thought just to for the laugh to see your reaction, I was going to find a way to link to Terry Funk versus Harley Race for the NWA World Title 1977. But then I thought, I won't, because that's guaranteed to lose because nobody likes to watch good wrestling. So instead, I am going to jump forward about 15 years. We spoke about 1992 earlier on, and it is a match from 1992 that I'm going to link to. It is a match from the summer of 1992, but not from SummerSlam 1992. I would like to go. I would like to go with Cactus Jack being the link. I would like to look. I enjoyed Jack so much in this, and seeing Mick Foley back in that persona and that reveal of pulling the Mankind mask off and showing the Cactus Jack t-shirt. I was like, oh man. So I thought we've not watched any Cactus Jack from back in the day on this show before, to my knowledge. I mean, the match against Vader has been up on the poll but lost and stuff like that. So I thought,
and we've spoke about him being lost in Cleveland and things like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I thought I'd try and find one that maybe I don't really remember, but gets good ratings online. So Cactus Jack being the link. I'd like to go to WCW Beach Blast 92 and see Cactus Jack take on the Surfer version of Sting for the WCW title in a match that Mick Foley in 2020 for WWE itself, an online show for WWE, Mick Foley referred to as the perfect match. So wow. I think that would be quite interesting to have a look at. So that is my option there. And this is the era of WCW where they didn't have crash mats on the outside of the ring and stuff like that. And I'm fairly certain Foley still does the stupid elbow drop and all that sort of shit just onto the bare concrete. So that is my option there, my friend. Let us know what you think in the chat.
A great pick.
Thank you very much. And obviously keep your eyes out on our social media accounts. The Twitter is where the poll always will be, or X, or whatever it's called now, at @chain_wrestling. And your options this week are Clash of the Champions 2020, a 3-way intercontinental title ladder match between Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, and Jeff Hardy. Oh, man. What a collection of talent that is. That is
it's unreal. It's unreal.
Just as I'm reading it out, I'm just thinking, why? Or a little bit of retro WCW and a slightly younger and not as beaten up Cactus Jack against a slightly more bleach blonde version of Sting. Sting. Yes, definitely. Sting versus Cactus Jack, WCW Beach Blast 1992, in what Foley described as a perfect match. Magsy, let's scan through the chat very quickly. Or do you want to jump straight into Hulk Hogan's a Billy Bullshitter?
No, we'll scan the chat. So Connor says the CWF has a WhatsApp group where we try to get each poll to 50-50. Now I've said too much.
Magsy's coughing again.
I mean, we know about it. We've infiltrated it. Dan says Foley versus Triple H is a rivalry that goes so under the radar, but it was so good.
Yeah.
They only had 3 matches one-on-one. The 2, obviously, that we've covered, and one in 1997 when Triple H was still Hunter Helmsley. So for so little match ring time between the 2 guys, their chemistry is just off the chain, absolutely off the chain.
The storytelling, I think, especially in this run, is just brilliant from the pair of them, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely is. Connor says, fun fact, my parents went to this show and they had all pictures from the event, but the pictures are lost to time. We got the house apart before moving and we couldn't find them. Oh, that would be devastating, absolutely devastating. Scottish Danny agrees with the barbed wire 2x4 conveniently being left under the Spanish announce table was absolutely hilarious. It was brilliant. And poor Hugo Sinidovic getting clocked for it. and that was Earl Hebner's fault as well. So what a twat he is. Dan says, I love Foley, but the unprotected chair shots are hard to watch nowadays. So going on to that, my link was the handcuffs, and one of the matches that I was considering was another Mick Foley match where he gets handcuffed. It was from ECW Saber Slam, I think 96 maybe.
Okay.
And he's facing the franchise, Shane Douglas, and he gets handcuffed and then gets locked into the figure 4, and Marky Whipwreck turns on Mick Foley and absolutely waffles him with a chair whilst he's trapped in a figure 4, and you can see it genuinely knocks him out. He's literally passed out, and the sound of that chair cracking him in the face is absolutely unreal. So that was going to be a potential alternative pick, but I think I've made the right choice with the one I've gone with. Dan also says a well-deserved 10 from Mags. And he thought we were going to go for a big Bossman match with the handcuffs. I mean, we could have gone with Bossman versus Nails, but ain't nobody wanting to watch that shit anymore.
Have we not covered that?
We probably have, because we are sociopaths, aren't we, really?
Yeah, pretty much, mate.
And then the final one, Dan Griffin, 50-50 anyone? No. Just watch my match and definitely don't watch the match from ye olde 1992 WCW wrestling.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Thank you so much to everyone in the chats there. Magsy, shall we dispel some statements made by a certain big orange racist?
Let's go.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Liar, liar, pants on fire, hanging from a telephone wire. Squirming, pants are burning. When I lie, my hips start turning.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Look, man, I made a mistake.
So, last week we covered that Hogan, Billy bullshitted about the fact he had a #1 album and he discovered Simon Cowell. This week we're talking about when he took exception to Dave Meltzer reporting that Macho Man had an injured arm and had a segment on WCW TV where he proclaimed that this is what we call a rag sheet, brother. Then viciously denied the rumors that Macho had a arm injury, and Macho was stood at the side of him nodding along. The only problem is that it was true, and Macho did have a sore arm, and this led to him working a match, doing all his normal spots, and causing himself even more injuries. So Hulk Hogan is Lars injuring other wrestlers.
It was a staph
He's
infection
a
as well.
Yeah, he's a prick.
Yeah. Oh dear, yeah. We spoke about Danny and I spoke about that at length on Nitro Nights when we hit that point a little while back, and it's just that story is unbelievable. The fact that he's there with the dirt sheet, he sets fire to it, and Sting gets crazy excited about it as well. Sting's there, and he gets really over animated about it as well. It's just nonsense. What a knobhead.
Yeah, and you can just imagine Macho going, Hogan, I have got a sore arm, and Hogan saying, "Well, that doesn't work for me, brother."
Yeah, you still got to lie down for me again. So that, I think, Magsy, concludes this week's Chain Wrestling Live.
Yeah,
John, let
what a
everyone
brilliant
know.
episode it's been.
Yeah, I've had a great time. We'll have to talk about gimps more often. John, let everyone know whereabouts they can find you and your chickens online, my friend.
I certainly will. Firstly, again, in the chat and the CWF, you've been amazing this week.
Yes,
just what
always.
you guys bring to this show. It's the best thing. It's genuinely the best thing. It's at least 50% of the show. You got the interaction we have with you guys, and we thank you each and every time that you turn up. It just makes the show a million times better. But if you want to see more of me and my chicken-based antics, that sounded wrong. I'm definitely not a chicken gimp. I promise you.
Chicken gimp.
You can follow me on TikTok at PodFarmerMags, or if you want to be left on red a lot on X, you can follow me on there at PodFarmerMags.
There we go. Anything I'm involved in, as always, you can find via the network that carries this show at SJP World Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. On all your podcast players, platforms, providers, YouTube, Twitch, and all that good stuff. Make sure you are following, liking, subscribing, and sharing, and all that stuff that I say every single week, because it makes such a massive difference to the show, the network, and being able to bring you these podcasts or live streams every single week, I guess, Maxie. And every single week is rammed with stuff for you to enjoy. We have the volley looking at, well, there's an international break coming up soon. So there's talk about live shows that are just going to be open discussions about the likes of VAR and so on. So make sure you keep an eye out to involve those. Why have we got the Barry Windham being the stalker video in the background again whilst I'm doing my wrap up? Why do you feel hell bent on distracting me when I'm giving out this information?
Be a professional and ignore what's going on around you.
For fuck's sake. I've forgotten what I'm up to now. We've got all sorts of stuff going on as well. The Doctor Who pod has just today, actually, the last draft episode has been released with a little bit of a sort of podcast debut as my daughter Charlie jumps on the show to select a David Tennant story for Dan and I to watch, and does brilliant there. We have, of course, Tyler's Takedowns, looking at the territory days, modern day wrestling, WWE, AEW, NXT, New Japan, all this sort of stuff. Make sure you're checking him out every single Friday on SJP World Media. Tyler does fantastic stuff. Paranormal Junkie with Benny Mac. There's so much going on, Mags. I run out of breath trying to explain it to everybody. I really do.
I think it was more because you're excited about seeing Barry Windham in the background.
I can't see Barry in the background, so that camouflage is too good.
Yeah, exactly. But he's got a mustache, so we all know who he is.
There we go. But most importantly, you can find and follow this show on Facebook and Twitter at chain_wrestling, and that is where you will find links to the shows, the podcast versions, the live streams, the non-wrestling topics, any other interactions with the CWF, and of course our weekly poll to decide what we watch. Magsy, I'm off now to take Big Bob and hide him somewhere till Liv falls asleep, so I've got somebody who will watch Harley Race versus Terry Funk with me later on tonight. I'll see you next week, my friend.
Fuck Barry Windham.